Brexit is a personal issue for me because we have various passports in the family. I have a brother living in Vienna with a UK passport who has to give up the passport. He will need a visa to come and see his daughter who is living in this country. I am going to have to leave the country because of Brexit, because I have a German foster son who will not qualify for settled status. I don't think Leave voters realize that the hostile environment means that none of the guarantees that the government has given before the vote can be relied on. I think the registration system they're proposing is discriminatory. I don't think it's the right thing to do, to just classify a certain group of people. Haven't we learned from history? That's a very dangerous thing to do. The most scary thing is that it's weakening the country and it's gnawing away at the foundations of democracy. Nation states have lost their purpose, really. We need to unite. People are forgetting about the really important issues like climate change, like radicalization of large parts, like poverty in the world, like illnesses that we haven't conquered yet, cancer, all kinds of things. People are spending all this money on a pointless argument about delusional expectations. And the problem is that the far right has a lot of money, it's a lot of funding, and like I said, Bannon's been all around, and it's interlinking now right across Europe to the States, and it's really risking our security. I think that's the most dangerous thing. Migration has been vilified. In reality, it's a benefit to the country. I am a migrant, I'm proud to be a migrant, and I but I brought an education to this country, I've paid my taxes, I've worked all my life. I feel I love this country, I've made this country my home, I've adopted this country as my home, as my sanctuary, and I'm really upset because I feel it's not the country that I love anymore, and it's people who don't know really that they are fighting the wrong enemy. They have ruined this beloved country for me. I am here whenever I can with my dogs to show my support for the EU, which is really a peace project. We know that after the disastrous 2 world wars, the EU was formed because out of principle, countries who trade together don't war together. European history is one of bloody wars. Now for the past 60, 70 years there's been peace in Europe, so it's for peace, for prosperity and for power, because in unity is where there is power. The UK is going to be just a small little island. It's not an empire anymore. It's going to be a competitor to a large trading bloc right next door. So it's going to be poorer, it's going to lose its influence because at the moment we were a very influential country at the EU. I know from personal experience how influential we were. A lot of the things that people complain about were actually proposed by the UK, and we got our way, and now people are complaining about what we have proposed ourselves. I know it's the slogan about unelected bureaucrats. Actually, if you compare the two democracies, Britain with its House of Lords and the EU, I'm not saying the EU is a perfect system. It does need reform, which we as a member could instigate and push towards. Yes, there are some problems, but it is democratic. We have elected MEPs, we have a parliament. I don't think people in the UK have been educated in how the EU works. I have actually taken part in working groups. They don't know that the UK Parliament has a European committee, both Houses of Lords and House of Commons, who scrutinise every EU decision before the Minister for Europe can sign it off. I know personally because I've worked with that system. People don't know that. So we have a strong input into what's happening, and only about 12% of UK law comes from the EU, and that's got to do with trade. Whenever we have lost votes at the EU, they were about items where we have opt-outs anyway. People don't know that we have negotiated a wonderful deal. We have the best enviable deal of all European countries. So we're losing all that for reasons that people have been misled to believe. They've been misinformed. Vote Leave broke the law, but of course we can't go back to people who have voted Leave and say, oh, you've been conned, you've been misled. There's going to say no. Nobody's going to admit that they have been misled, and that Brexit was funded by the same people who funded Trump and is in reality a right-wing coup. We've got to find a way out of this incredible crisis we are in. We are in a huge constitutional political crisis, and we've got to stop it from becoming a huge economic crisis. I'm angry because of the lies. I'm angry because of how the media has not been controlled and has got away with warlike language, with 1930s type language, with racist incitement to hatred. There is no control. They have not been challenged on it. I think a lot of really vulnerable people with issues have been used for the other side. I am a psychologist by profession, so I have noticed that there is a very high number of angry young men who are looking for a cause, and they have been given a cause, and they're living out their aggression, their frustrations in the campaign. That's really worrying. We have been here for over a year and a half, and just peacefully standing here talking to MPs and encouraging people to toot if they agreed with us. But in the last few weeks we have had aggressive young English Defence Leave and Tommy Robinson supporters coming here and taunting us, trying to harass us, trying to film us and then publish their films. I think they get paid for films they are making. I think unfortunately Steve Bannon has been on a recruiting cruise around Europe, and they're interlinking with the far-right groups right across Europe, and they are influencing us around here as well. You can see it's a totally different atmosphere. This is now a proper representation of what the state the UK is in at the moment. There are legal ways, but they're not going to satisfy politically. I think I would prefer MPs to vote down the deal and then give the people a say, a final say. We need to have more and more people here to show support to the MPs that are seeing that their constituents' future is in danger by Brexit. Like Joe Johnson, my MP, has changed his mind. He supported the government policy for 2 years, and now he had the courage to stand up and say, no, people have voted to make themselves poorer. I cannot support that anymore, and he's now for a people's vote. I want to beg people to inform themselves and not just take the information from one side and talk to each other, believe that experts are not there to con you or damage you. They have learned about their subjects. They know what they're talking about. Don't allow people with an agenda to influence you, people who just want to make you poorer so they can become richer.